Hello, Senator Ossoff. My name is Stanley Eugene, and I am a Master's of Social Work student at Arizona State University. I live in McDonough, Georgia, and I'm reaching out both as a constituent and as an emerging social worker that believes deeply in justice, safety, and equal protection under the law. I'm here to advocate for reform to the Violence Against Women's Act, or VAWA. More specifically, I want to strengthen protections for Native American women who face extreme levels of violence and often lack access to justice. While Georgia does not have a large reservations like some Western states, it does have a Native American presence and legacy. More than 150,000 Georgians identify as Native American or Alaska Native, and our state's history is closely tied to the Creek and Cherokee nations, whose people were forcibly removed during the Trail of Tears. Many descendants still live here today and remain part of our communities. The VAWA has been one of the most effective federal tools for addressing domestic violence and sexual assault, but a serious gap remains. Tribal courts cannot fully prosecute non-native offenders who commit violent crimes on tribal lands. The, dis- the jurisdiction limits leaves Native American women vulnerable and undermines the promise of equal protection. Without reform, countless cases go unprosecuted simply because the survivor lives on sovereign tribal land while the perpetrator does not share the same tribal status. I'm asking you to support a permanent expansion of tribal criminal jurisdiction and to increase funding for tribal courts and victim service programs as a part of the next VAWA reauthorization. The statistics are stark. The National Congress of American Indians reports that over 84% of Native women experience violence in their lifetime. 96% of those assaults are committed by non-Native perpetrators. Yet most tribal courts lack authority to prosecute those offenders, producing what advocates call a crisis of impunity. Although in 2013, the VAWA reauthorization included a pilot program granting limited tribal jurisdiction, it only covered domestic violence and not sexual assault, stalking, or child abuse. These exclusions leave significant gaps in safety and accountability. As a future social worker, I view this not just as a policy flaw, but also as a human rights issue. Every survivor deserves safety, justice, and the ability to heal within their own community. So, Senator Ossoff, I'm asking, I'm respectfully asking to one, co-sponsor and support legislation that permanently expands tribal criminal jurisdiction to include all violent crimes committed by non-native offenders on tribal lands. Two, to advocate for increased federal funding to increase tribal court capacity, provide culturally grounded victim services, and to ensure consistent enforcement across states. And three, acknowledgement of this reform publicly through a committee statement or press release to help raise national awareness that Native survivors still face legal barriers for justice. Your record on bipartisan oversight and public safety reform shows a commitment to fairness and equality. Supporting this policy change would extend those same principles to the often overlooked population. This reform will save lives and strengthen justice nationwide. While Georgia may not have a large reservation, Native descendants still live here and contribute to our cultural makeup. By closing these gaps in the VAWA, we would be honoring Georgia's shared history with the Creek and Cherokee nations and reaffirming that their descendants and all Native people deserve full protection under federal law. As a U.S. Senator, your influence extends beyond states' borders, and your leadership on this issue could help set up a national standard of fairness, accountability, and respect for human rights. These are values that benefit every Georgian and every American. So thank you for your time, Senator Ossoff, and for your service to Georgia and to our country. I would welcome the opportunity to share any additional research or resources that support this reform. Thank you again for your dedication to justice and for your consideration to this important step.